Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode here on Play on GAA with me, Seamus Brady, and with me I have Aaron Prendergast, the man behind GAA Fan TV. Aaron, how's it going?
Yeah, I'm doing good, Seamus. Doing great. Enjoying the championship so far. Enjoying all the action, and yeah, this weekend's games I suppose aren't too exciting really. Like you're kind of looking at them, thinking a lot of them are probably going to be maybe one-sided. But sure, look, the championship's here, and we can't complain. There was a long time there during lockdowns when we didn't have any football at all. So, we might as well enjoy it all for what we can. So yeah, sound for having me on.
Yeah, no, he's glad to have you back. And then you mentioned about the pandemic, of course. That championship showed like shocks can happen. Obviously, Tipperary and Cavan winning their provincial championships. Obviously, two sides that played in the Division 4 final this season. So shocks can happen. And like, is there any match really in the champ? Obviously, the competitiveness of the championship so far has been remarkable. I mean, the first round of the championship there, I think it was Louth were the only team who were a higher league place than their opponents that actually won that weekend. Every other side that won was of a lower ranking in the league than the team that they beat.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Like I think it shows that like even Division 3, Division 4, like I don't think there's much between any of them counties at all. Like you say, obviously Laois and Wicklow are both now down in Division 4, but like 2-3 years ago, the idea of Wicklow beating Laois sounded crazy, really. Like I think it was Wicklow's first championship win over Laois in 30 or 40 years or something crazy like that, or some mad statistic like that. So like, you know, like it is kind of mad really how quickly, like you've seen Carlow, who were kind of like nearly challenging to get out of Division 3 for a while, and they slopped, they slipped all the way down to Division 4, and Louth obviously going all the way up. So yeah, like I think there isn't much between like the Division 3, Division 4 teams, like even Offaly like losing to Wexford for example. So yeah, it does add a lot of excitement. I suppose there is still a big gap between, you would say, like your kind of elite 3-4 counties maybe, and then your Division 3 and Division 4 teams. But no, it's been very exciting, and obviously seeing Derry and Tyrone last week, which was probably the best game so far. Well, and maybe in terms of quality, wasn't quite there, but in terms of entertainment and excitement and there being a shock, I'd say, yeah, it was great witnessing Derry beating Tyrone. I enjoyed that one.
Yeah, and no, that was the arrival of a new force. Like they've been knocking on the door. We all know they're coming, but like I watched your video there. Like I was like completely good. I did not see that coming. I did not I knew that they were coming, but I did not see that coming. And even then, maybe a 1-point win, 2-point win, but they just took Tyrone apart at every part of the game. Tyrone never looked like winning, and they had all their all-stars playing, and Derry were missing Kieran McFall. You know, they were missing Emmett Bradley, who didn't start the game. So look, like I know Tyrone have dropped off some players off the panel like Mark Bradley and Ronan O'Neill and Tiernan McCann, but none of them were starting for them last year. So, I mean, you can't really say that it's as important to them as McFall, you know, and Emmett Bradley are to Derry. But yeah, so let's get into the actual games here. So the first game on Saturday, thrown in 6 p.m, is one that, you know, over the years has been one of the best rivalries in Gaelic football, but has faltered over the last few years, barring Cork's sensational victory over Kerry in the 2020 championship when Mark Keane got that goal. Of course, it is Cork against Kerry. It's in Porky Rin. Now, we all know about the Porky Rin or nowhere saga. Now the game is being played in Porky Rin. Me personally, I still can't see a way that Cork can win this game. Do you agree with that?
Yeah, no, it's gonna be next to impossible, really. Like, I mean, I know it sounds kind of weird because like Cork did beat Kerry 2 years ago. It was actually less than 2 years ago because it was in the winter of 2020. But so much has changed since then. Like Kerry were just a bit naive in 2019 and 2020. Like even in 2019, they actually nearly got beat by Cork in the Munster final. Like you know, probably with a bit more experience and a bit more game management, they would have beaten Dublin in that final, definitely. So Kerry have definitely improved quite a lot since then. Like their players have gotten better. Clifford has even gotten better. You know, Sean O'Shea's matured quite a lot. Tony Brosnan's come into the team. Paddy Clifford's come in. And then from a Cork perspective, although they were sort of Division 3 and then being promoted up to Division 2, they were sort of around that level anyways. A lot of their players are gone. Like Kerrigan's retired. Connolly's opted out. Ian McGuire is going to, Mark Collins, Ian McGuire is going to be injured. So, yeah, there's a lot of players obviously missing from a Cork point of view. So yeah, no, you'd have to look at Kerry as the definite favourite. Like they're definitely they're miles better than Cork. Like, and you're not going to see Kerry be defensive around like that. Like, they're going to come out, attack Cork, put them away. It mightn't be as convincing maybe as what it was last year, because you've seen Kerry even in the league at times, like they manage games a lot better. So they'll go 7, 8, 9 points in front, then they'll slow things down, control the ball, a bit like what Dublin used to do, and then just pick away at scores without going full throttle. So, but you would look at Kerry and think, if they're at it and they're at their best, even with Cork playing well, like, it could be 15 plus. It really could. You know, like, you've seen the team Cork beat in Offaly and then they lose to Wexford. So, Kerry are just overwhelming favourites here.
Yeah, no, 100% agree with you, because you were talking about the 2020 match. I remember watching that live and thinking, like, what are Kerry doing? Like, they had, I think it was Ronan Buckley playing wing forward, like a guy who's more defensive. They'd two, and Brino Bugli was the other wing forward. And I remember watching, thinking, why are they parking the bus against a Division 3 team? Like, they were clearly, Peter Keane was clearly preparing to play Dublin 6 matches before playing Dublin. I was thinking, what is this guy doing? And rightfully so, I don't think he was the man for the job, even though he had the success with the minors. I think the way that Jack O'Connor's come in and all of a sudden David Clifford, Sean O'Shea looked like world beaters. Like, I know that they looked brilliant under Keane, but Clifford looks like a freak, like, genuinely. Like, Pádraig O'Hara is one of the tightest cornerbacks in the country and one of the best. And Clifford made him look like he was awful. Like, literally that goal where Clifford got it, where he put it in on, ran around the end line and kicked it in off the right. He made it look so simple. And you've got a guy who's an absolute pit bull like Pádraig O'Hara, who's so fast and taggy with you, and he just left him for dead. He's on another level. I can see Kerry winning this. I'm saying Kerry by 10 plus points. Would you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think, I'd probably go with 12, 13 points. Like, I feel like they're not going to be as, like, intense as what they were against Cork last year. Like, I feel like if they wanted to put the burners on, they wanted to go full throttle, they could probably beat them 15, maybe even 20 plus if Cork aren't at their best. But I do think there is an element of game management, watching injuries. They know they don't need to be at their very, very best in this game. But look, you never know. Like, Cork and Kerry games have been strange down the years. Sometimes you've thought Kerry should be winning this very comfortably, and then Cork, and then when Cork are in their pump sort of around like 2011, 2012, and Kerry beat them one of the years. So it can be a strange rivalry, this. But yeah, like, with Kerry's quality, and like, Cork have been terrible defensively this year as well. I think Carlow have only had a worse defense than them in all 4 divisions. So, like, yeah, you're looking at Clifford, O'Shea if he's back in the team. Stephen O'Brien, Killian Spillane, Tony Brosnan, Paul Gainey. Like, I don't know how they live with those forwards.
Yeah, no, I agree. So Kerry to win by 10 plus. And then moving on to Sunday's games, of course, the first being Galway Leitrim, showing in at 3:30. Again, I mean, you're looking at a Galway side which looked flawless in Division 2, apart from their back-to-back defeats to Roscommon. But you've got Leitrim on the other hand, of course, who had a mixed bag in Division 4, shall we say. Like, I mean, going away to Tipperary in Semple Stadium and beating them there, and then losing at home to London. Now, interestingly enough, they went away to London without Keith Byrne. And myself and Matt, we were highlighting this, saying, look, that's a very dangerous game for Leitrim, because obviously they had Keith Byrne in the league and they lost at home, and now they didn't have him and they were going away. So, like, I assume we're both going for Galway to win this game. But, like, do you think Leitrim have made strides since the league?
Yeah, like, they've definitely made improvements. All right, they've made improvements overall this year, probably since last year. Like, obviously, since Andy Moran's come in, he's been able to get Emlyn Mulligan back in the team. Ryan O'Rourke starting now as well. Back, he wasn't starting last year for some reason in a lot of those games. Tom Pryor, who's come up from the under-20s, looks good. Like, there's a good buzz around Leitrim. I seen in the under-20 championship, they nearly beat Mayo, I think it was. They were only a point away from beating them. It was either Mayo or Galway. It was one of them two anyway in the semi-finals. It might have been Mayo, actually, now that I think of it. So they were very, very close to beating them. And that would have been huge for Leitrim. Like, it would have been Leitrim and Sligo in the under-20 Connacht final, which would have been mad, really. But yeah, there's a good buzz around Leitrim at the moment. Andy Moran's got them playing well. Obviously, look, I think we all know Galway should be winning this very, very comfortably. Like, it's, again, probably going to be 15 plus, maybe a little bit less, maybe a little bit more. But I think Leitrim definitely have improved since last year. It's not going to be as bad as the Mayo game last year, where I think Mayo won by 25 points or something like that. So I think the good thing is, though, in these games, though, for the likes of your Leitrims and obviously Wexford, who played Dublin, at least it doesn't end there. I know normally they'd have a qualifier, but sometimes like they go into the qualifiers, then get another tough team, and then get hammered again, and then that'd be the end of the year, and it'd just be all negative. Where at least for Leitrim, like they have something to build on, like, even if they are 10, 15 points down going into the final 10 minutes, Andy Moore can make changes and try different players out, because he knows he has a Tailteann Cup coming up, which, again, I don't think there's much between a lot of the Division 3 and 4 teams. And I don't think Leitrim would be a million miles off. Like, they'd fancy, like most of those counties will all fancy their chance. So,
Yeah, that's why it's so hard to pick, like the level between them. I mean, if you want to see why it's so tight, I mean, the three sides contesting promotion from Division 3 were Antrim, Limerick and Louth, three teams that were in Division 4 within 2 years ago. So, I mean, that shows the level between that. Sides that get promoted from Division 4 are right in the promotion chase in Division 3, because it seems to be with those teams, it's just all about momentum. You're looking at the likes of Longford that are stagnating a bit. You're looking at the likes of Carlow that had their momentum. As you mentioned, they made a push in Division 3 and then they lost the momentum and now they're right back down to Division 4. It's just what momentum you have. And right now, Leitrim actually have a good spurt of it, with Keith Byrne, of course, back now from suspension. You got Emlyn Mulligan there, you got Ryan O'Rourke, players like Donald Rinn, Tom Pryor. So, yeah, I think, look, they'll give a good account of themselves, but again, Galway 15 plus. And then that would set up Galway playing Roscommon for the third time in about a month. And obviously, they've lost to Roscommon now back to back. The first time they lost to them in the league was just a normal round. Obviously, they were playing a lot of, rotation players in the team that time, because they already knew they were in the league final. But then they bring those lads back in and they lose in the league final to Roscommon anyway. Diarmuid Murty getting that amazing goal. Shane Walsh wasn't at 100% fitness in that game. Do you think that he is the key? Do you think that having him back full fitness could actually give Galway the edge? Or do you think Roscommon just have Galway's number this year?
Yeah, like it's an interesting one, all right. Like I think Roscommon probably just maybe a little bit ahead of Galway at that moment in time. I really don't think there's much between them. Like you definitely wouldn't look past Roscommon with what they've done this year and how well they've played in Division 2. And obviously Enda Smith's been in brilliant form this year. Brian Stacker, fullback's been very good. And they've had a really good balance between, like, when you look at their numbers, like defensively they're very solid. They're good at getting forward as well. They seem to have a fine balance, and 2 wins over Galway would give them a lot of confidence, because I feel like with Roscommon sometimes they are kind of a confidence team. Like they can go on good runs and start putting a bit of wins together, but then they could go on a losing run and lose 4 or 5 on the bounce and find themselves in a bad scenario. But it's such a hard one to call. Like I think with Galway, with Shane Walsh back, with Damien Comer back, it gives them a big chance. But I probably still lean towards Roscommon though, because like I don't think Mayo played particularly brilliant. They had a lot of players missing. Killian O'Connor was only recently back from injury. Like they'd know Robbie Henley, they'd know Oisin Mullen, Paddy Durkin wasn't playing either. And I think Roscommon, they'll be waiting in the wings for Galway. And I think, unless Galway play a bit better than they did against Mayo, like I'd actually fancy Roscommon to probably sneak it by 1 or 2 points.
Yeah, no, I as of right now, I agree with you. I think that Roscommon have strengthened so well. I mean, that new midfield partnership with Vultan Harney and Eddie Nolan is one that I really like. That frees up Enda Smith to go into the forwards where he is at his best. And now they have the luxury of being able to bring on the likes of Diarmuid Murty. And, you see the impact that he has every time he comes off the bench. So right now, I would say Roscommon just by a little bit. Galway are looking good though. I thought they did look good against Mayo, but then again, Mayo did nearly pull them back at the end, and you highlighted there how many players Mayo were missing. So look, probably Roscommon for me right now, but Galway definitely to get through this game against Leitrim, which takes us on to Cavan against Donegal, throwing in at 4:00 on Sunday. Now, this was probably, in my opinion, after the Cork Kerry game, this was the shock of the 2020 championship. I did not see this coming, because I remember it being talked about, during the week leading up to the Cavan Donegal game, that, the final 4 back in 1920 were Dublin, Tipperary, Mayo, and Cavan. And I was thinking, all right, so Tipperary have done it. That's magical, obviously the Michael Hogan and every bit of history that's linked to that. But I was saying it's not going to happen because I just can't see Donegal dropping this. I thought they looked too good. You remember their run to that 2020 Ulster final? They beat Tyrone in a real slog of a game up in Ballybofey. Oisin Gallen kicked that brilliant point to kind of see them home. Then they absolutely wiped the floor with Armagh. Then they get through into the final then against Cavan, and everyone is saying Donegal are going to win. And my thoughts that day was they were just waiting for Cavan to mess up. They were just waiting for Cavan to fold, and Cavan never did that day. And do you think now, what were your thoughts personally of that game? Where do you think that game in particular went wrong for Donegal? And then do you think that they've made the changes so that this time they will win?
Yeah, I think in that game they were just sort of, they were very standoffish with Cavan. They didn't put them to bed. There was times where they were 4 or 5 points up. I remember Cavan, I think they had 2 black cards in that game. They were down to 14 men at twice different periods of the game. And from what I remember, Donegal just didn't put them away. They just didn't put their foot on the gas. They were just very standoffish and allowed Cavan really to come back into the game. But you have to give a lot of credit to Cavan though, because they stuck in the game, they hung in the game. And it's an example as well, if you're ever 3, 4, 5 points down, you're never out of it. And maybe you shouldn't go full throttle and try all out attack, because then you might lose by 10 to 15 points and then there's no way back. So with Donegal, it's a hard one to know. They definitely should be winning this one. We know they have the better players, and you've seen with Michael Murphy, Paddy McBrearty, the O'Donnells who come in, Michael Langan as well. You would wonder how that Cavan defence can deal with that Donegal attack, to be perfectly honest. I think Faulkner might pick up McBrearty, which would be an interesting battle, but I think Donegal would surely have too much. I mean, it's definitely going to be interesting, all right. Paddy Lynch has been brilliant for Cavan, and looking at the names on the team sheets, maybe Brendan McCall might be the one to slot in and pick him up. But I think Cavan are one of those teams though that I feel like they underperform sometimes when they play the lesser teams. That's why I actually fancied Antrim to beat them and got that one horribly wrong. But when they play bigger teams, even against Tyrone last year, they weren't terrible. They actually didn't play that bad, considering they'd just been relegated from Division 3. So I think they will put it up to Donegal. But obviously that game was in the Athletic Grounds, which is a smaller pitch. It was wintry conditions as well. This is obviously going to be in Clonus. It's likely to be a hot day from what I hear. I think it just suits Donegal. And Donegal's problems sometimes come in in sort of big games just before semi-finals and stuff like that. So I think they should have enough for Cavan, and they should be winning by 6 or 7, I'd say.
Yeah, no, I agree, because you're talking about the 2020 Ulster final between the two teams. But then remember the 2019 Ulster final between the two teams? That was in Clonus on a hot day, and Donegal walked that one. So look, I'm going to go with Donegal to win this one. They've, survived another year again in Division 1. They've unearthed the likes of Conor O'Donnell, Shane O'Donnell. So I think Donegal are going to win this one, probably by about 6 points, similar to yourself. Which brings us on now to the hurling, swapping to the hurling, throwing in at 2 p.m. on Sunday. Limerick, who have really seen it all and conquered it all, faced up against Tipperary, a Tipperary side which, would you believe, we've only began May and they're pretty much out of the All-Ireland Championship already. Tipperary, of course, first year with Colin Bonner in charge. They got the likes of Mark Keogh finally getting a bit of a run in the team. But then on the other hand, you have Limerick, who have they squashed Cork on the first day just ruthlessly, and then saw off Waterford. Surely Limerick are going to win this game, right?
Yeah, definitely. You'd have to think so. I mean, given their opening 2 games, I mean, they cruised past Cork, really. Cork didn't really stand a chance at all, never really got into the game at all, far too open at the back. But as I said before, Limerick against Cork, I don't even think Limerick were at their best in the game, and that was the crazy thing. They looked like they were stuck in second gear or stuck in third gear, just couldn't really find their rhythm, but yet they were still hitting points very easily. Aaron Glan was chipping away with points, Carl Hayes was as well. And then you think to the Waterford game, you've no Keane Lynch, you've no Carl Hayes, and yet they still come through Waterford. And even with those late 2 goals, from Waterford, they were still able to stick in there and sort of see the game through. So they've multiple ways of getting through games. Like they can be brilliant and blow teams away. When things get tough, they seem to withstand the pressure and find ways to win. So like, it's credit to John Kiley and Paul Kinnear, because the amount of tactical decisions they make in game as well is brilliant. So and yeah, Tipperary. Yeah, it's like Tipperary, they showed a lot of promise and fight against Waterford, and it was almost like a bit of a moral victory coming out of that, considering how good Waterford were, but then, didn't build on that at all against Clare. And I think that has been Tip's problem really since that 2019 All-Ireland win, is like, they have a lot of good moments, and then they'll have a lot of other problems as well, like afterwards, of injuries as well. Like, I think John McGrath's missing for this one. Like, trying to bled through too many young players at the one time, and then with the older guard getting older as well, like, it's all just kind of caught up on them. And yeah, with Limerick being at home, I think it is at the Gaelic grounds, like, they'll smell blood. And yeah, like Tipperary, they really need to win their last two games, and probably by a big score as well, because it might go down to score difference. But you could see Limerick being up for this one, because it would mean a lot to them to sort of put yet another nail in Tipperary's coffin.
Yeah, 100%. And I mean, you're talking there about Tipperary. Remember last year's Munster final? I mean, Tipperary put as good a half together against this Limerick team that we've ever seen. Probably the best half. I mean, Jason Ford caused absolute carnage. I mean, he sat there in the pocket at centre forward and just scored points galore off Declan Hannon. I would be interested to see if they do the same thing again, because Noel McGrath has been brilliant at centre forward. But, Jason Ford got a lot of success there last time. And you mentioned there about their mettle there. I mean, that Waterford game right at the end, I mean, if you want to draw up a scenario which is really going to test your mettle, that's it. I mean, Waterford banging in 2 quick-fire goals at home. They got the crowd behind them. And then Limerick go and score the next 3 points. I mean, that's championship steel right there. And like, they've absolutely shown that no matter what, they always seem to have it in the tank. So yeah, I'm going with Limerick to win this one as well, quite comfortably. And then just a little cameo at the end. Obviously, the Under-20 Championship has really captured the imagination this year. Kildare, of course, winning Leinster again, beating Dublin in the final. Then you've got Kerry there, you got Tyrone. So obviously, Sligo played Kildare in one semi-final on the Saturday at 4 p.m. Kerry played Tyrone on the Sunday in the other semi-final at 1 p.m. Which out of these 4 teams now are you really kind of looking at, just before we wrap up, as your kind of favourite to go and win this now?
Yeah, I'd probably say Tyrone, in my opinion. I think they've probably got, from what I've seen anyway, the best player out of all 4 teams in Rory Cavan. They've got a brilliant track record of bringing young lads through, bringing young players through over the last couple of years. Like, the work that they must put in there to bring underage through is phenomenal, really. And you've seen they created one amazing team in the 2000s. They've put together another very good team now that won the All-Ireland last year. And now you've got, 2 Canavans, obviously, in Dara Canavan, obviously in the senior team, Rory Canavan in this team. So, I'd probably look at Tyrone. Like, Kerry obviously have a lot of very good underage players as well. And their underage players are probably going more under the radar because of the fact that they're not, like, it's going to sound a bit mad, but they're not really needed at the minute, because Kerry just have so many. Like, if Kerry could keep their same players that they have in their senior team, and like, for the next 7-8 years, and they won't, like, you're seeing even like Paul O'Shea and Paul Walsh, for example, who can't even get a look into the senior team at the minute. It kind of reminds you really of Dublin probably 4 or 5 years ago, where you had so many, you'd Bernard Brogan on the bench and Jeremy Connolly on the bench at different times as well. So would look at Tyrone. Obviously, haven't seen enough of Sligo really, but it'd be a great story if they could go to the final. And then Kildare obviously beating Offaly and Dublin, and deservedly so as well. Kildare might be the favourites as well. Like, they brought through a good underage team a couple of years ago as well. But I would look at Tyrone as the favourites at this moment in time.
Yeah, no, I completely agree with you. I think I really like Canavan again. Like Rory, he's been showing his stuff, and I think you're absolutely right with the Kerry thing. Like, Kerry probably might have the same 6 forwards in 5 years. Like, apart from Paul Gainey, they're all mid-20s. Like, David Clifford is like 22. Like, that's terrifying. And the one thing I was saying about Kerry's potential dominance is Dublin got that dominance off the back of a minor team that won All-Ireland title. Kerry won 5 in a row. So, like, I mean, It's coming, and these lads are coming. But yeah, so I'm kind of happy to go with Tyrone as our pick there to go on and win the under-20 championship. I would love to see Sligo go and do it, obviously with Red Oak and everything there. Like, I'd love to see them go and do it. Yeah, Kildare are very interesting as well, because obviously they won it a few years ago. They had that team with Jimmy Hyland and Aaron Masterson. So, you know, they'd be very interested to see if they could come again. Tyrone as well, like they had the team with Dara Canavan and Antoine Fox there a few years ago that fell to Dublin at the semi-final stage. So yeah, I think it's very interesting. But yeah, I'm happy to go with Tyrone as our pick. So yeah, Aaron, like, thanks a million for coming on today to preview these matches with us.
Yeah, absolutely. No, appreciate you having me on, Seamus. Much appreciated.
All right, lads, if you're looking for GAA content, go subscribe to GAA Fan TV. Produces it pretty much every single day. Don't know how you do it, man. But yeah, that's the video here, lads. Thanks a million for watching. Please like, subscribe, share, and comment. It really helps us out. And until the next one, guys, take care.